Marie Dufort. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Marie, or I'm not mutilating your name. I beg for your forgiveness if I am. Uh, yeah, so Marie, the floor is yours. Marie is the Assistant Crown Attorney, Ottawa Crown Attorney's Office. Please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So I have been with the Crown Attorney's Office for over 20 years, and I'm both the dedicated drug treatment court crown for Ottawa, as well as the dedicated mental health crown. I'll speak a little bit about our drug treatment court mostly, and a little bit about how this regroups for some of the participants in a more integrated approach with the services that we can offer in mental health court. When I was asked to speak about the why, the how, and the impact of the Ottawa Drug Treatment Court, I thought I would focus a little bit more on the most recent years. Our model is based on the, well, we've had our drug treatment court operating in Ottawa for 17 years, a little bit more than 17 years, since 2006. And our court is modeled on the Toronto Drug Treatment Court model that started some years before in '98. We are also a problem-solving court. We remain so to date. Our court is mostly a collaboration between community partners, our treatment provider, which is Rideau Wood Addictions and Family Services, the Public Prosecution Service of Canada, and the Crown Attorney's Office. We have dedicated duty counsel to our drug treatment court, and also we have a dedicated probation officer. We also have a collaboration with our local police service, and we have rotation of dedicated officers who are assigned to our drug treatment court. Our court is a non-adversarial model, and it offers a therapeutic rehabilitation program. Obviously, the participants need to be willing participants. They need to be addicted to drugs, and we target our court for non-violent offenders. Obviously, it's an alternative to incarceration for the most part. We have one model. We've had two models. I'll speak a little bit about that. We have a regular model, which usually has a minimum of a 9-month participation. It's in two phases. We have a higher intensity phase initially that sees participants involved every weekday, 5 days a week for individual and group therapeutic endeavors, as well as individual counseling with their case manager. And they can successfully then move on to a second phase where, although they maintain this therapeutic and rehabilitation contact with the treatment provider, they can reintegrate the labor market, further their education, and solidify their assets in the community to ensure a smooth transition back to a productive life after they finish the program, which is obviously the court-directed program. Right before COVID hit, we had created a pilot project, which we call the EIDTC, the Early Intervention Drug Treatment Court. This was concerted effort to try to address individuals who had an interest in participating in this court-directed drug treatment rehabilitation program, but that had less contact with the criminal legal system, offenses that tended to have a resolution position from the Crown that did not involve incarceration or a short period of incarceration, where obviously the balancing act and the interest of participants to participate in a longer drug treatment court model of a minimum of 9 months was not something that was considerable. In that, our model was a 16-week minimum program that basically allowed participants to continue with either education, work, and also saw them having contact with our service provider, but at a frequency that was less than the regular model. This started in 2019, so right before the pandemic hit and the the measures that were taken, including not having in-person court, we have discovered that although the criminogenic factors were less and the contact with the criminal legal system was less, that did not translate in the therapeutic needs being less. So right now, and because after, more than 17 years, when you have a house, you look at renovating, refreshing, and always keeping it current. We have stopped our model of early intervention drug treatment court as a program, as a separate program itself, and we're more looking right now at a case-by-case basis and how we can integrate these individuals in the model that we already had in existence and addressing their needs that way, albeit probably for a shorter period of time. The persons who are and were targeted and are still by our shorter early intervention model are persons where the result often is either a diversion, conditional discharge. That's mostly what we target in the early intervention drug treatment court. We are looking at the way we look at our integrating our programs, and the currency of our program is we also have a policy committee as part of our renovations of our DTC house in Ottawa. We are doing a constant and a full review of our policies and our procedures to ensure that they remain in line with our treatment goals and orientation handbook for the participants, and that our release conditions are something that is conducive to treatment, and also ensuring that the participants can participate in various therapeutic endeavors. Our policy committee ensures monthly that we have monthly team meeting where we address concerns, innovation, and a necessary review. The goal is to do that as swiftly as possible to ensure that the program really addresses the needs of our population in Ottawa, and also in keeping with the goals of this court-directed program. In our policy meeting, we maintain a partnership between various actors in our program, prosecution services, the bench, treatment providers, and also community agencies. We strive to have a consistency in the approach, and this is both at the policy committee meeting and the weekly court appearances and program. We have a dedicated team, a court team, and roster of dedicated prosecutors to the drug treatment court. We have dedicated team of judges as much as possible. And we also have a dedicated probation officer and duty counsel. Our model still targets non-violent offenses for the most part. We do not accept residential break and enter. Obviously, we'll look at a case by case in terms of common areas in residential buildings, such as laundry room, mail room, garage, storage units. We do not accept driving offenses. We have expanded our model. Again, it's always on a case by case basis in terms of adapting to the currency of consumption of drugs, especially fentanyl. Now looking at, again, always on an individual case review, but looking at acceptability of sub-fentanyl trafficking cases in the drug treatment court. We've adapted over the years when fentanyl became more prominent. Possession for the purpose of trafficking of fentanyl was not something that was looked at to be accepted in our therapeutic model. It is now something that we accept when the case is conducive to this therapeutic endeavors. And that's in keeping with our review of the evolution of addictions in our community here in Ottawa, and really to respond to the needs of our population. Our model works on an acceptance of an application in drug treatment court and a review by both the court team for suitability and then for looking at an intake phase where the person is screened for suitability by the treatment provider. We've discovered, and that came probably more to light since COVID, that there are some needs and of the participants that really needed to be addressed during this intake phase. The persons needed to be supported. Sometimes the intake has been taking a bit longer, still with some pandemic restrictions that remain at the local detention center. And we felt that some of the participants need more support to be able to succeed through this phase. Also with participants that are out of custody and ensuring that they meet at the meeting time and they don't miss assessment meetings that are really essential for finding suitable housing, also with community partners, ensuring that they can integrate the drug treatment court therapeutic model without unnecessary delay. We've discovered that some individuals had more difficulty. Those often are some individuals who have concurrent disorders. We are fortunate in Ottawa, as in I'm sure in many other jurisdictions, that we have a dedicated mental health court where we also have quite a number of community partners. When I indicate that we're lucky, we work in concert between the community partners, and we have developed even more recently, really focus on a more integrated approach to offer mental health support and the supports that can be offered from our mental health court model in supporting participants who are mostly at the initial phase and the assessment phase in the drug treatment court. Once they are more into the program, this initial phase has been completed, often we find that the supports might not be as necessary, and some of the community partners from our mental health court might then take a backseat a little bit and favor this approach between Rideauwood, our community partner for drug treatment service, and the participants. We've found also that on some occasions recently in our renovation of our house, that having a person supported by probation services is also something that might be very beneficial. So we have looked at resolving some offenses prior to this initial phase in the drug treatment court for the person to be put on probation and have this additional support to ensure that they succeed in their endeavors. Also, of course, this is something that's looked at depending on the case and the needs of the person. But it's been highlighted significantly through COVID and since then, since we've resumed more in person, that the needs of our participants might not have been entirely met without this additional support from other therapeutic partners. We have not in Ottawa stopped drug treatment court even since the pandemic started. We moved to an online model without missing a week. This is mostly due to our court, well, to our judge responsible mostly for drug treatment court, who has swiftly embarked on adapting to a virtual world. And I think that really served to support our participants, and the program continued with adaptation all the way up to resuming gradually in person, first at the treatment provider and since earlier this year in person in court as well. We have had graduations, and quite a few during the pandemic. Some were done virtually and some resumed in person. There's been great successes from our participants, and some participants have truly embraced their DTC journey and have been able to give back to our community. We have one participant who had quite a lengthy journey in drug treatment court and not an easy one, but who has graduated successfully during the pandemic restriction and has given back to the community by starting a pet food bank, gathering donation and distributing to those who, are really feeling the pinch of the difficult economic times. And I think that's truly a testament to the impact of this DTC program and really the pulling together of all the community partners during these difficult times. And also it's still an adaptation period right now that we're back in person, but I think it's really a testament to the fact that we have a very strong, I think, partnership in Ottawa, and we really strive to ensure that we remain current and that the program is adapting to the needs. We also have, and I know my time is running out, we also have a therapy dog program in Ottawa. And that the purpose of this program is, I think, to build a bond between the participants they come during the weekly court appearance for the participants, now in person. And it really serves to alleviate some anxiety and fears of individuals, as you know, who, have been in court in more adversarial appearances before and have this reluctance and fear of the court process. I think it's bringing these participants together in a little enterprise, which is to, receive the love of these therapy dogs, calming anxiety, and also for them to form a bond around these little partners that we have to ensure that this more formal, especially since we've been back in person proceeding, is done in a way that's conducive to continuing their therapeutic endeavors. And I know I'm looking at the clock, I'm running out of time, so I think I'll leave it at that. I think you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking to myself. This would never happen in real life, but I'm talking to myself. Marie, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think especially in the light of all the previous presentations we had, from a trauma-informed perspective, when people come with trauma and then they meet persons like yourself and your program, I think that takes care of that. I'm the frontline worker. I do addiction counseling as a social worker. So for me personally, it's heartwarming that there are people at the other end of the the other end that persons like yourself and many others, I think, here caring individuals that are there in this attending these conference. I think it's heartwarming that there are a lot of caring individuals and programs that are out there looking out for and trying to address and meet the needs of the client. So thank you, Marie. Thank you for that amazing presentations. Really well done in the sense of the kind of services that you laid out that are available for I think it's the same client that we service. You and I is the same persons that go around and around kind of in circles. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for putting on this very interesting conference.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. So